Hi everyone, I'm John Truelove and this is Beats in School. I'm here with Taya, who is the winner of the Beats in School competition, and we're going to be talking about music publishing.
Yep.
Taya is what?
Sorry, I was like, yep. Hi, I'm Taya. Hey, John, how are you?
Yeah, good, Taya. How's
nice.
things?
Yeah, really good. I'm just down here in Australia. It's nighttime. It must be morning for you there, yeah?
Yeah, it's coming up to mid-morning in Ibiza.
Yeah, nice, cool. Yeah, so I'm Taya, Beats in School and Circus Recording winner. As part of, so this is all part of the prize of winning, and as well as getting mentored by a circus recording label owner Youssef and multiple industry advisor sessions with some of the biggest names, such as yourself. Yeah, and so hopefully you can give me a bit of insight into music publishing. It's something I don't really know much about, and I feel like it's quite important for me to know, being a music producer. Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a mystique around music publishing, and even people that have been in the game for years still struggle to understand the finer details of it. So yeah, it'll be my pleasure to run you through and try and help explain some of the deeper mysteries of the business.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, buddy. Awesome. So, what does music publishing actually mean?
Okay, well, so music publishing, the best way to explain it, and I think that the best way to understand it is by explaining where music publishing came from. Originally, a music publisher found composers and would publish them. Of course, in the days before there was recording equipment, publishing involved taking somebody's score and printing it, thus publishing. So publishing, just like a book. They would, back in the old days, the publisher would then print that book and go out and try and sell it. What would help the success of those books would be if somebody in a music hall, the famous star in a music hall, say the Adele of her day, started performing that song, and as a result of a famous star performing the song, people would then go out and buy the music book in order to play the song at home on their pianola or whatever. So fast forward, and of course, we aren't doing very much printing of music score anymore. But the principle is still there. We are still dealing with the elements that can be expressed in print as either notes, musical score, or words, lyrics. And therefore, whenever that music or lyrics are used in any context, there is a payment due to the composer and the author of the music. And it is the publisher's job to collect that income.
Oh, right. Okay. So do people hire you to be their music publisher, or is there one person that sort of takes care of it all and pays the people royalties when it's sort of played on YouTube or SoundCloud or something like that?
well, we as a music publisher go out and find artists or composers, because they aren't necessarily the same thing. It isn't always composers aren't always the artist. I'll give an example of, say, Adele, who I mentioned before. Adele writes a lot of her stuff with a guy called Paul Epworth. He doesn't go on stage with her, as far as I'm aware. But he has basically 50% of the writing credit on what she on a lot of what she collaborates with quite a lot of other people as well. But he doesn't make anything out of going on tour, out of any of the public facing things. But he earns every time an Adele song gets used on radio or TV, or goes in goes out on YouTube, or every time a record is pressed or a download is clicked or anything like that. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think there's like quite a lot of people with sort of ghost producers. Like there's a lot of DJs with ghost producers out there as well. I'm guessing that's like the same concept.
Sort of the same thing. I mean,
like that ghost producer would probably get 50% of all sales and that.
Yes.
But not be in the limelight. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one needs to draw a distinction between ghost producer and co-producer, because there's a lot of people who make music with people that aren't visible, as is the case with Adele and many other people, where as opposed to the ghost producers that are a little bit of a scourge of the industry at the moment, who are making music and just giving it to DJs in particular, who then just brand it as their own, and there's no visibility for the ghost producer. And in fact, what I'm seeing more and more is these ghost producers doing stuff as buyouts, so they aren't even protecting their own rights, you know.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, of the whole ghost producing thing. It really gets to me.
Yeah. It's, as I said, I think it's a bit of a scourge. It detracts from the real creatives getting on with things. I don't mind people putting their brand on somebody else's work, but I think it should be visible. I think they should be honest about it. But that's another story. I think
we're getting off track.
We're jumping ahead here, and I think we should be talking about possibly more positive things and more educational things than having a bitch about what's.
Yeah, sorry, we got sidetracked. I've got a next question. What's the difference between a label and a publisher?
Okay, so the label looks after the recording. The publisher looks after the rights that I mentioned before. So again, what could be expressed as notes or words, or both, of course. A song can be used, i.e. the publishing, can be used in loads of different contexts. There can be cover versions, there can be karaoke versions, there can be, you name it. You know, the song can be used by loads of different record companies, loads of different artists. Whereas the record company just deals with one recording of that particular composition.
Okay.
Yeah, does that
absolutely
sense?
Like yeah, for sure. I'm actually you made a track that has been sampled over or redone over like 15 times, I'm pretty sure. Like Florence and the Machine did it, and the XX as well.
Yeah.
So would you get a percentage of each sale like that as well?
Absolutely, yeah. Every time
cool.
that a Florence video is streamed, or XX perform the song on stage, or a karaoke version is used somewhere. A very small amount of cash comes my way, and the way of my co-writers.
That's great, because that song was massive. Or they both were.
Yes.
Or they all were actually. Your one as well. So that's great.
Okay. My recording did okay. So I mean, that's where you can see the distinction. There's the same composition. I made a recording of it. I made several recordings of it actually. By the way, everybody, we're talking about my own song, "You Got the Love," which I released under the Source featuring Candy Staton, because we know what we're talking about, but maybe you lot out there don't. So my versions were recorded and released, and then it was a great honor to have Florence then take my music note for note, and the words, the lyrics that have been written by a guy called Anthony Stevens, and give it her full treatment, pay full respect to our original composition, and have a huge hit with it. So everybody's made out of it.
Yeah, nice. So I guess my next question should be, how do you make a hit? No. How is that? So that's
the answer is there's an answer to that, and don't try, because my advice to everybody is make the music that you love, and that will be infectious for everybody else. If you try to cynically make a hit, it's really, really unlikely to happen. I know very few people who are successful songwriters or artists, for that matter, who go out there and kind of say, we're gonna fuck with everybody now. We're gonna just make some piece of cheesy shit, and we're gonna make millions out of it. It's generally the people that are successful with that cheesy shit are the people that love it. They live it and they breathe it, and that is their thing,
For sure.
It might not be my cup of tea or your cup of tea, but it is for them, and that then infects everybody else, and that is how those things travel and become hits.
Sure. So how do most musicians actually make money? Do you think it's more from royalties or like playing live gigs or whatever? Because I mean, there's so much music out there on the web now. Like as soon as someone can buy it, they can chuck it on like a download site, and you could just get it like that. So it's quite hard being a musician to make a steady income because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these days, one's income comes from across the board, and it's all incremental. Generally, people are making a lot more from live if they are performers or DJs than they are from their rights. And certainly, publishing is a way down the scale in terms of the percentage that somebody would actually earn. of somebody's total earnings. But again, it depends. There's horses for courses. There's people that write for music libraries whose entire life is spent making music for broadcast, and they rely almost completely on their royalties. They don't have any live. They don't have a band generally. They are just producing this music for to go into TV backgrounds and stuff like that.
Sure.
But in our world, generally, DJs and DJ producers and electronic and techno producers, generally you would expect to earn the large part of your money from live, a lesser amount from recording, and slightly less than that from publishing. If you then have a hit, everything changes because you get a greater amount from royalties, both on recording and in publishing.
Yeah, sure. There was I just remember then there was this Australian artist Gautier, like everyone knows. He made that hit Somebody That I Used to Know.
Yeah.
And that was like #1 all over the world for a long time, and he was entitled to about $10 million in YouTube, just off YouTube plays. So that's quite a bit of money there.
Yes, absolutely, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly the point. You're bang on there. Once you get that momentum behind you, seriously, the sky is the limit.
Sure.
It is fabulous, and it more and more the case, particularly with something like YouTube, is that you have to be getting a huge, an incredible amount of streams to actually see any money at all.
Yeah.
All the little 20,000, 30,000 streams tend to see very, very little income. It is all like totally grabbed by the Taylor Swifts and so on that are doing the billions of plays now.
Sure. How influenced is dance music by major labels and their publishers?
Well, that's an interesting question, because the major labels, electronic music really, started as an underground thing, and every once in a while, the major labels kind of get what's going on and come in and capitalize on it, and have a good little run with a particular genre, like EDM, for instance. But then the genre of electronic music moves on, and they kind of get left behind, and it all goes back to the underground, and we get to have our parties, and then have to wait for the next wave, the next genre that the majors are going to kind of come and get busy with. But that is just the ebb and flow, the whole nature of the business. It's how it has worked for 30 years, and I don't think it's going to change now. And we just get on with it. I've always been resolutely underground, despite my commercial successes. And it's interesting, with the amount of time I've been doing it now, you just see these patterns happening, and it's just like, okay, all right,
Yeah, it's really funny you say that. It's so that makes so much sense. It's actually what happens, isn't it? You actually had one of your songs sampled by Kanye West, yeah?
And that Yeah, we publish. We look after the publishing for Larry Heard and Robert Owens, Fingers Inc. And actually, shortly after taking on their catalogue, to our great delight, I actually got a message from a friend in New York saying, "You want to check this out? I know that you've just taken on Fingers Inc. and I think that their song was used in the Kanye West fashion show." And we checked it out, and by the next morning, by the time I got that message, everything had been taken down on the web. We could not find any sign of a video or audio of this fashion show to verify what my friend was telling me. And it took a few days and talking to a few shady people to actually dig something up from the dark web where nothing dies. And we actually verified that it was Mystery of Love, which then subsequently we got into a whole long negotiation with Kanye West people. And to the point, it took about a year, but we ended up with a really good settlement for Larry Heard and Robert Owens. And the track has gone on, Fade, has gone on to be really successful, video, and it's spawned a whole load of new interest in Mystery of Love itself, which we've been getting synchronizations for in all sorts of TV and advertising and all sorts of stuff. So it's been really good. It's been a really positive experience. Sampling can be a good thing, all round.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's actually really good, isn't it? I've never really sort of thought about that. It's great if someone can sample your track like that.
Absolutely, yeah. As long as you see the just rewards, and as long as you approve of how it's done, and for these guys, they're finally seeing some just reward from their work of 30 years ago, because famously the early house music, the creators of the early house music didn't do very well. They ended up signing really bad deals, and have many of them have lived to regret it. And so it was really nice on a kind of moral level to be able to help the guys to see that reward.
Yeah, nice. Do publishers also track unauthorized sampling of tracks unauthorized sampling of like my tracks and those kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, we will within reason. We have we spend quite a lot of time going and finding out about stuff. There's obvious things. I mean, we look after quite a lot of vocal tracks, and it's a lot easier to track down samples of vocal tracks in other people's music. But yes, there's plenty of cases where we go and we go after people that have taken musical samples as well, and it has become a huge amount easier with digital fingerprinting and music recognition technology, as well as just the general how the world has got so much smaller, and particular sites like Who Sampled Who.
It's great that.
Which is just, yeah, and for us as a publisher, it's a brilliant resource because we'll go and have a little look on there and see who's been in there doing stuff.
Bit cheeky.
And yeah, and it's it's become so much more straightforward these days to clear a sample that there isn't really any reason not to. The majors still can be a little bit difficult, but overall they've become a vast amount more pragmatic about it and easier to deal with straightforward terms and quicker. Because of course, what you don't want and what used to happen a huge amount was that you'd be waiting like a year or a year and a half to get for the whole process of clearance to grind through, by which time your record is dead in the water. You know, the whole sound is, nobody's interested anymore. So if you are well behaved, or if you were well behaved, then you didn't get any benefit from it, and the people that were naughty and just stuck stuff out, were the ones that somehow saw a reward, and that is being rebalanced, not entirely, but it's getting a lot better, you know, it's the way it should be. You know, as with Fingers Inc., it's like, you know, pay your respects, you know, give them their credit, give them a share of your song if you're sampling them, you know.
Absolutely, I think so too. Do publishers work with collection societies, collecting payments for radio plays and things like that? Like if your track's being played by a DJ or whatever?
Are you? Let me ask you this: Are you a member of a collection society? Are you a member of APRA?
I think my manager actually hooked me up because I wasn't for so long.
Okay.
But it took me, you know, years to do that just because I'm lazy.
Okay.
But I am now. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to drive many of our writers to join the societies. It's another bit of admin that is not what they're in the business for. They're in the business to be creative. But it's really important to be a member of a collection society as a creative for various reasons. One, it means that you get your 50% of your performance income directly into your own bank account without it even going through the publisher. And secondly, it enables us as a publisher to it makes our job easier to collect, because it means that the song has full data attached to it. You can imagine there's hundreds of composers called Joanne Smith, and if a song goes out there with a composer called Joanne Smith on it, who isn't a member of a society and it isn't identified, they have absolutely no idea who to pay. And this means that we see money just going in just totally random directions. We quite often come in and have a big tidying up job to do of somebody like you who has been years without membership of a collection society, finding that their royalties have been paid to, you know, the wrong person. Because how is the society meant to know who to pay? You know, as I said, there's lots of people with the same name, and if your name isn't against it with an identifying membership number, then yeah, it could go anywhere, or they just keep it. That's the other thing, is hang on to it because they don't know who to pay, and again, you lose out, and your money then gets paid to the Taylor Swifts and the Kanye Wests, because at the end of the day, the societies will only hold on to it for a few years until somebody comes to claim it. If they don't, then they just share it amongst everybody that they've been paying over the last few years. And of course, the biggest earners from recent times will get the biggest share. So
Sure.
it's really important to join a collection society, and we as a publisher work really closely with collection societies. Us in particular, Truelove Music, we are direct members of 25 collection societies around the world. So we have personal, intimate knowledge of each of their workings, and so we can maximize the income for each and every one of our composers.
Oh, nice. So I should probably find myself a publisher. How would I find? How would I know
got one.
the right one?
You might
Sorry?
you're saying that you might have you might be a member of a collection society, but you definitely don't have a publisher still. Is that right?
Sure, that's exactly right.
Well,
I guess I haven't released enough music to have to deal with that, but it's sort of I am now, and I'm getting more well known. So I'm getting like quite a bit of radio play and other DJs playing my stuff. So yeah, I think now is sort of the time for me to maybe look at getting a publisher.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how many songs have you how many tracks have you got out there now, fully released?
I've got about 10 now, but I've got a couple more getting worked on now, and okay. and then the Circus Recordings EP, which that'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you play live at all?
Not
just DJ.
Well, I don't play with all my synths and that, but I'm working on a live performance because, you can see someone play off their laptop, but I would never want to do that. I'd want to do a proper live performance.
Okay.
I couldn't handle playing just off a laptop, and then next track like some people do. I'd like to do it properly.
Yeah. So well, what you should know is when you're playing live, or even when you're playing your own records, or when you're playing anybody's records in a club or at a festival or whatever, that generates income for the composers. So if you're playing your own music, that is your income. And the way it works is the venue or the festival pay the local society, the local collection society, in your case, APRA, for playing that music. And APRA then have to come and find the composers of that music. So it's critically important that you submit playlists, that all DJs and producers submit playlists when they perform, and get them back to APRA or their local society, be it ASCAP or BMI or ESCAI in Spain, or PRS in UK, or GEMA in Germany, or the dozens of other societies around the world, so that the composers of the music that they are performing see the benefit of that income. Because again, if the society doesn't know what has been performed, they don't know who to give it to, and so they just stick it in the pot, and it goes to the big guys. At the moment, there's also a really particularly driven by the Association for Electronic Music, of which I'm a part. There is a big drive towards getting music recognition technology, a bit like Shazam. Are you familiar with? You're familiar with Shazam, of course.
Oh yeah, I love Shazam.
So there's a lot of kind of business to business technologies which are being employed by the collection societies to put basic boxes in clubs and events. To do a Shazam thing, to recognize that music, so that again the composers and the artists and the labels see the benefit of that music being performed.
That's a great idea. That's a really good idea, because I could imagine that no one's remembering what they've played, you know, all through every night playing at a club. Like I know that I can't remember half the music I play when I'm out, unless it's my own.
Yeah.
So
that's. I mean, of course, that's the case. What we tend to do with our our performing artists, is we get them to give us a generic set list that basically, you know, like kind of like a chart. Generally, what you have been playing, more or less, you know, on average over the last 6 months, because
sure,
it's not worth anybody's while putting in a set list for every single event and every single club night, particularly if you're doing 3 gigs in a night. It's like, as you said, you ain't going to remember. But you're generally playing the same, a mixture of the same records over the course of a 3 or 6 month period. So it's pretty straightforward to bang out a list and get it to the publisher, or to, as I said, to your own collection society, so that they can get on the job for you.
Yeah, nice. Cool. Well, that's all the questions I had for you today. Thanks so much for spending the time and doing this for us. It's cleared up a lot for me.
Oh, I hope so.
And it's been yeah, absolutely. And it's been a real pleasure as well. I'm a big fan of your work.
Thank you. And I had a listen to your stuff, Taya, and I'm really impressed with your music as well. I think you've got you're going to do well.
Thanks.
And we need to say that people can come with their questions on the here.
Oh yeah.
Here.
Yeah. Anyone who's watching, please ask any questions for us.
I'm here to I'm here to on Messenger to give you answers to whatever burning question you may have about publishing. I'll answer to the best of my knowledge. Taya, it's been an absolute pleasure for me as well. And
thanks. Absolute pleasure.
And
thanks, buddy.
Let's stay in touch.
Absolutely. Also, thanks to Beatport, obviously, and all the sponsors, Circus Recordings and Youssef. Thanks for everything. And I'll talk to you soon, John. Cool. Have a good one. See you, mate.